Ever since I started watching wrestling in the 90s, WWE has been trying to change the public perception of what professional wrestling is. They want to scrub the word fake away from everybody's lexicon. Like when you say that you're a wrestling fan, they don't want the response to that to be, oh, the fake stuff. They want the response to be, oh, you mean that legitimate entertainment vehicle that I watch on the mainstream streaming service? I do that too. I enjoy that product as well. And one thing that they've always been trying to do is get accepted by actual sports fans. So this past weekend was a gigantic weekend for the World Wrestling Federation because now they've entered the ESPN era. Now, all the professional wrestling pay-per-view events that the World Wrestling Federation put on will be happening on ESPN. Asterisk the ESPN app that you have to download and pay $30 extra for if you don't have a cable provider that gives it to you anyway. Or if you don't live abroad, somewhere like internationally where you can just log into your Netflix account and watch it. So the very first event in the WWF ESPN partnership happened this weekend with Wrestlepalooza, emanating from Indiana. And today, www.espn.com put out an article where they kind of called the entire show mid. I don't know if WWE is giving ESPN what they asked for in this, billion-dollar deal? Let's talk about this nonsense. My name's Dan Frampton. I am the Dave Meltzer replacement. Why does he just observe? You gotta do more than just observe. I am the wrestling absorber. Likes and subs, let's go. I know you got them, give them to me. So yeah, Wrestlepalooza. I was kind of stoked for this event for a couple reasons, okay? I wanted to see AJ Lee's return. Obviously, this mixed tag team match between AJ Lee, CM Punk going up against Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, I think it lived up to expectation. Yeah, AJ Lee hasn't been around in a while. There was a little bit of ring rust there, but the match was entertaining. Was it a 5-star spectacular affair? Of course not. But it did everything and more that it needed to do in order to set up future storylines featuring all of these people. And old Trips was out here really hyping this thing up. Trips was out here saying, oh, you know what? Wrestlepalooza is going to be in the same bracket as your WrestleManias, as your SummerSlams. This is going to be a big time affair. We love Wrestlepalooza. And let me remind you, Wrestlepalooza was a last minute pay-per-view event that they put on because their competition was running a big show on the same night. All Elite Wrestling was running All Out in Toronto. WWE wasn't going to let that happen unscathed. Of course, they came in to counter-program this thing. So then Trips being out there being like, oh, this is going to be the next WrestleMania, when it was a last-minute decision just to slap this thing together. I'm sorry, buddy. I don't think Wrestlepalooza is ever going to be a WrestleMania. You have a lot of work to do if you want to get there, but I'm on board. I love a palooza. Give me this palooza. But I gotta say, I thought the show was kind of mid, to be honest. I couldn't believe this was a pay-per-view where people paid $30 for and there were ad breaks. I was like, oh man, 2025 really is as dystopian as they're saying out there. But I don't care about my opinion right now. I care about ESPN's opinion. They just plunked down so much money for this property. They were like, give us the palooza. Let's see your palooza. And www.espn.com put out this article right here, this little review, and they were not too happy. Now, I will say off the bat, this isn't an ESPN bigwig. This isn't a suit coming out and say, hey, we're disappointed with this. This is Andreas Hale, a journalist that works for www.espn.com, and this is his review. But the fact that it's ESPN's official review on www.espn.com, I think it is very, very funny. He goes through the card in a way that not a lot of people do that review professional wrestling. He goes from best match to worst match, I guess. And the best match on this thing got a B+, the Women's World Championship match between Io Sky versus Stephanie Vacker. Yeah, I liked the match too. I thought it was well wrestled. I loved the finish. And apparently Stephanie hasn't been around because she's been extremely sick. So putting on that kind of performance while being under the weather Come on, give it up to her. She won the women's championship like 2 months into her main roster run and had her flu game right away. Michael Jordan is chomping down on a cigar somewhere, really proud of this. But B+, alright. Then he goes through it, match by match over here. He gives the tag match, the Usos versus the Vision, a C grade. I would have went a little bit higher, but it didn't really seem like a pay-per-view match. It was more or less like a good TV match. And from this match, Jey Uso got hurt accidentally, okay? He goes to give Braun Breaker like a chair shot in the back, and the chair bounces off Braun's back and hits Jey in his own head, and he ends up bleeding and freaking out. But he says he's okay, so I think he's okay. That's good. But right away, we're noticing that www.espn.com is like, this show is kind of mid. Punk and Lee defeats Rollins and Lynch by submission, and he only gives it a C. I would have went a little bit higher with this. I would have went B, B-. I thought it was a very entertaining match. I loved the whole presentation. I thought everybody looked great. It looked like they were all having so much fun being in there working with one another. And a lot of people criticized how slow it was to start, but I loved how long they made us wait for that AJ Lee tag. And then the first time she tagged in, the ref didn't see it. I thought all that was excellent. ESPN though, they didn't love it that much. They gave it a C. They're like, WWE, we gave you $1 billion for this stuff. Why can't you give us good matches? Why can't you give us surprises? Oh yeah, that's another thing Trips was saying out here while he was promoting this. He's like, there's gonna be surprises, there's gonna be spectacle, and there's gonna be fun. Well, there wasn't really any surprises. There was a bunch of spectacle if you call, like, I don't know, fireworks spectacle, or just generally what they do anyway when they just turn on the lights as spectacle. Then yeah, there was spectacle all over the place. Trips, what are you talking about? And surprises, nary a surprise, okay? There wasn't any surprises. They should have pulled out all the big guns for their first ESPN show. But no guns, no big guns, no nothing. Just a couple decent matches. 5 pay-per-view matches with an ad break. An ad break is an understatement. There was like an ad break after every single match. Who am I kidding? He goes on to rate the next match, which was the main event of the show, but apparently to him it was the second worst match on the show. It was the undisputed WWE Championship match between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, and I think it deserves a little bit better than a C as well. Very entertaining, but very predictable. I knew that fucking Cody Rhodes was going to win this. He just won back the belt. But I need to see Drew McIntyre with that gold. He's been so close so many times. The one time that he did win it was in front of nobody during the whole COVID WrestleMania or whatever. So I need to see Drew McIntyre go on a long run with a lot of fans in the building. And then of course, everybody's least favorite match on this card was John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. And I don't think that this guy writing this article was harsh enough. He gave it a C-. This thing was an F- if you're using this whole grading system. This match was dog shit. This match did not need to be here. It didn't advance any storyline, and it just made us think, oh, is there going to be another Brock Lesnar match in this final John Cena run, which they've botched, let's be honest. There's only been a couple good moments throughout this entire John Cena retirement run, and maybe I go on a little bit of a rant about that in a future video, because you know I can get at least 10 minutes worth of content out of that. But it's this last blurb right here that tells the entire story. This is what it's all about. WWE Wrestlepalooza final grade, C. The excellent Vaquer vs. Sky match saved this show from being truly average. I will say, it was still truly average, even with one really good match, because every show has at least one really good match. That makes it average. It was a phenomenal display inside the squared circle. That it was a great match. And that finish, my God. The spiral tap, finally bringing it to the main roster, great. Stephanie Vaquer, think there's a bright future for that girl. Anyway, continuing on, everything else was either underwhelming or a setup for a future match. That's true. Even the tag match was kind of just like story development. It wasn't really a culmination of anything, and there was no big moments. There was no surprises. There was no spectacle. As a wrestling fan, someone that watches this stuff, I wasn't on the edge of my seat going like, oh, what are they gonna do here? It was more like, oh, look at LA Knight chewing his gum when he should be refereeing this match. I really like LA Knight. That was where I was at. And then this review concludes, for a card that promised to have epic moments, it fell short of expectation. Straight from www.espn.com all the way to the ears of Trips. Trips. You gotta hear this, Trips. ESPN, they're not pleased. They're like, your surprises weren't surprising enough, okay? Your spectacle, not spectacular enough. Not by a long shot, and I only had a little bit of fun with that one match. Me personally, I liked 4 out of the 5 matches, but that stinker of a John Cena Lesnar match really put a sour taste in my mouth, along with the ad breaks on a pay-per-view. I'm not so sure about that. My heart was warmed, okay, by Stephanie Vecchier, so that kind of did save it, and I had a ton of fun with the mixed tag match. Tons of fun. And oh yeah, Stephanie McMahon is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and she had this incredibly awkward interaction with The Undertaker of all people that told her this, so I don't know, man. I didn't like that segment either. Like, what the hell's going on here, Undertaker? But either way, that is hilarious. ESPN is like, WWE, give us something better, boys. So that makes me think our next pay-per-view event emanating from wherever the fuck it's coming to us from the World Wrestling Federation, I think we're gonna get something spectacular. They need to get a better write-up here because their whole thing is about legitimacy. They want to change perspective. If they want to be in bed with ESPN and have these reviews on their website, well, they're gonna have to live up to all the hype because they're paying attention. And they're paying attention more than ever now since they paid to pay attention. Trips, shape up, bud. And since I am the wrestling absorber, the replacement for Dave Meltzer, I will give all these matches my star ratings right now at the end of this video. And I'll do them in the order that he did them, okay? The Vaquer Io Sky match, that's a 4.5 star match right there. I really enjoyed it. Usos vs. The Vision, 3.25. The mixed tag, I'm going all the way to 4 stars with this thing. I thought it was very, very fun. Cody and Drew, yeah, 3.5. It really only kind of told some of the story and didn't really do too much. It was just kind of there to be there as a main event. It was just like, hey, ESPN, this Cody guy, this is our guy. Meet our guy. His name is Cody Rhodes. He wins matches, don't you know, even when he's selling the CTE and he's stumbling all around. And then Cena vs. Brock, yeah, -5 stars. But those were my ratings, ESPN's grades. I want to know what you have to say. Did you enjoy the show? What was your favorite match? Comment down below. If I'm being honest with you, that AEW show, much, much better from what I saw. Okay, goodbye, see you later, and have a good one.